Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to the January 15th Historic District Review Board regular session. I'm going to go ahead and do a roll call, please.
Carrie Strew, present.
Sandra Salaker.
Joe Fair.
Susan Item.
David Gay, present.
Okay, thank you. I just want to point out that we have a sign-up sheet on the back table there for public comments. So this is your chance. You want to sign up. We're going to get into the public comment very shortly. All right, has everybody, board member, seen the agenda and any changes, corrections? Mr. Good? Susan? Okay, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I move that we accept the agenda for the January 15th board meeting as written.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good, thank you. The minutes from the November 20th meeting of the review board. Is there any changes or corrections? There is none. I entertain a motion to approve that.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the November 20th meeting.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, moving right along. Thank you. Do we have anyone who wishes to speak to the board?
Good.
Oh, excuse me. I'm getting ahead of myself. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on our list, we have Lawrence DeRay.
Lawrence DeRay, in this capacity, 2 Plum Street. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and clerk. I'd like to read into the record a report that was sent to the town council and staff by way of a weekly report submitted yesterday. This is a report of public interest and pertains to a conversation between myself and Ms. Aubrey von Lindern of the Virginia Department of Historic Resources, who is the Certified Local Government Program Coordinator. This is a report in total. Also a copy can submitted to the clerk to improve, submitted to the minutes. The following bullets provide the substance of a phone conversation between the town manager and a key staff member of the Virginia Department of Historic Resources held on Tuesday, January 8th, 2019. While all the bullets are worthy of note, of particular note was Ms. von Lindern's affirmation, once again, that the Cape Charles Historic District is not under review or in danger or being delisted from historic designation. This is a common rumor in Cape Charles. Bullet number 1, preservation plan. The existing preservation plan dated March 1996 was written within the context of providing an overall development plan for the town. That plan is rooted in the then existing town conditions and preservation practices. Just 3 years later, on December 14th, 1999, the town council adopted a comprehensive plan that states the following on page 57, quote, "The preservation plan for the town of Cape Charles is a parallel document to the town's comprehensive plan, and as such should be revisited every 5 years," close quotes. Over the years, that integration of preservation plan with comprehensive plan broke down. A new plan reflective of current town conditions and informed by contemporary preservation practices is needed and should be developed contemporaneous with the comprehensive plan revision scheduled for spring 2019 through summer 2021. Ms. Von Lindern encouraged this new plan and stated that a copy of the late draft document should be submitted to Virginia Department of Historic Resources for review prior to the town adopting the plan. Second, demolition. Ms. Von Lindern was informed about the demolition of the dilapidated commercial building at 207 Mason Avenue and the associated distress held by some in the community about that action. An action done in the interest of public safety after the town exhausted all due process requirements. Staff shared that the research into the public town record of demolition in the historic district reveals that 38 demolitions occurred between February 2002 and December 2018. All but one, 207 Mason Avenue, were residential structures, including historic duplex buildings. Several other buildings were demolished in the Harbor zoning district during this period. 5 were demolished between January 1st, 2015 and December 31st, 2018. The single highest number of demolitions in one calendar year occurred in 2006 and 2008, when 5 homes were cleared from the historic district each year. A complete listing of the addresses and demolition dates can be seen in the building department office. There are contemporary photos of several of these demolished structures. Both staff and the Virginia Department of Historic Resources agree that demolition is the last option and least desirable outcome. The loss of an excessive number of contributing structures can result in the delisting of a historic district. She affirmed that the Cape Charles district is not near that number and in no danger of being delisted. Meeting structure. Staff informed Ms. Von Lindern of the recent discussion with Town Council to introduce a 2-step application procedure so that the most appropriate treatment option and application materials can be discussed and agreed upon before the applicant can come forward to the Historic District Review Board for action on an application. Annual training course. In the past years, staff and Historic District Review Board members attended these one-day training courses. Suffolk or Smithfield are the locations being considered for our area, but the exact location and date are yet to be determined, and I understand events of the day have surpassed this phone conversation a week ago. And the last bullet is VCRIS. The VCRIS is found at the website www.dhr.virginia.gov/VCRIS. It holds information on historic districts in the Commonwealth and includes information on contributing structures, including photographs. This report is for informational purposes and requires no legislative action at the time. So that was the most recent town manager report to Town Council on an item in the public interest related to preservation and the preservation plan, the historic district. So that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
Larry, you said this is going to be attached to the minutes tonight.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Okay, William Ballard, 115 Mason Avenue.
I would just want to speak to the agenda item, so
Okay. Are you the applicant, or are you
yes,
speaking?
I'm the applicant.
Oh, okay.
You'll get your turn, yes.
Okay, thank you.
We have Jim.
I should have signed it. I was
Applicant.
just signing as a visitor.
And then
Oh.
we have Marnie, which is an applicant.
Okay,
So that's all.
thank you very much. Okay, unfinished business. This is carried over from the November meeting, I believe. 547 Mason Avenue. If you don't mind coming up and stating your name for the record.
Arnold Pugh, 547 Mason Avenue.
Okay, and I know you went over this with a few of us at the November meeting, but if you don't mind.
Okay, the application included redoing the window and 2 doors at 547 to make them more in tune with having residents on the 2nd floor and retail on the 1st floor. And I sent in photographs of replacement doors, which I think you have in front of you.
Yes. So you're asking for a new door on the right-hand side. There's a window currently there to replace the window with the 6-panel door.
Correct. Period door, for egress into the first floor, and a new 6-panel door on the left-hand side to go upstairs.
Okay. And there's some type of partition inside the building that would
Yes, sir.
isolate the door on the left from the
Space on the right.
space on the right, okay. And then also a 4x5,
Or 3x5, I believe, is what I put there for a window. Is it 4x5?
it says 4x5 according to your,
Yeah, that's correct.
okay. Picture window, which would, as you've shown on your drawing, would replace the single window right between the door locations.
Yeah, and currently there's a replacement vinyl window there that matches the rest of the house. And also in that area, the closest building to the right has large plate glass windows that are probably 6x6, which is where the bakery is and the building that's adjacent to.
The bakery on the corner of Nectarine and
Yes, sir.
Mason.
And the reason I need that window is to distinguish it from a resident, from a retail space, from a residence.
Mhm. How do you plan to handle the door on the left-hand side of the porch in front of the steps? Obviously it had side lights at one time that are.
Those, I think those were added later. It looks like it was a modern
Okay.
60s or 70s, and I'll put siding to the door, into the surround of the door. And those side lights won't be there.
Okay. And these were the only improvements to the exterior of the building?
Yes, sir.
Okay, no siding, no work on the porch or?
Well, the porch will be replaced, or not replaced, but repaired. Because it's as you can see in that photograph, it's in really bad shape.
Right.
But there won't be any changes to the dimension of it. It'll look more like the porch to the left, the house to the left, I think has 4 posts and 1x4 decking on it.
Are you gonna have a second set of steps for the other door?
No, sir. There'll be one set of steps going to.
There's not gonna be any railing or anything?
It's not that high off the ground, it's only this high. If you would prefer, I can put a railing on
Okay. I'm just looking at it from a safety standpoint,
it. Yeah,
that typically when you have a second door like that, you'd have a set of stairs so that somebody, coming out of that door would expect to go
Correct.
forward.
that
That might
makes sense.
fall off, that save
Yeah.
you some liability. I don't
Sure,
know.
I'll put a railing on it, if you could make a note of it there. And, I don't know who I talked to, but they recommended that I only had one set of stairs going up to the porch. Because that's what they prefer in that district.
So you're proposing replacing the middle window, which is vertical
Correct.
portrait, to
With
a
a,
horizontal?
no, it'll be vertical to 4 feet by 5 feet. Either way, if it's drawn in there horizontally, I don't know if there's enough room to go horizontally, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's the way you have it drawn, but,
So it says in the application 3 feet high by 5 foot
Yeah,
wide.
that's what I thought. So
3
3 feet wide. Did I say high?
Yeah, it
Okay,
says 3 feet high by 5 feet wide,
Correct.
so that would be
The-
horizontal.
But the new drawing has the vertical longer than the horizontal.
Oh, and the drawing is contradictory to the words?
Okay.
I'm sorry. I would put it as final as 3 feet high and 5 feet wide.
3 feet high and 5 foot wide.
Correct.
Horizontal,
Correct.
in replace the vertical.
Correct.
I'm gonna go back to this railing thing, the railing suggestion, and while I can see the benefit of having a railing there, if a second door is approved, I'm loath to design a railing for the applicant, because if we just specify or require a railing, that could be anything. You know, while the window size and the door placement is more clear than it was in the November meeting when you came forward, we're now adding the possibility of a railing, you know, replacing the deck covering, which right now is obviously plywood, and it, you know, I could see the reason to replace that. But all of a sudden, this application's becoming a little more inclusive than what we're looking at and what we would approve if we approved the application as applied for. Does that make sense? You know, also, I hate to approve this insofar as there's just, in my mind, there's just too many unknowns here as far as what the porch flooring may look like, if there is a railing, what the railing may look like. It's, you know, it's still, in my opinion, I'm looking at this as still a rather incomplete application. I don't know if the planner, if you have any comments about that. You know, we could refer the railing style, the flooring replacement, the material, and so forth. We could refer that to you for approval, but I kind of hate to do that because it's potentially major part of this overall project. You know, replacing the door and the window as applied for, we could, and that's really all we can improve, in my opinion. The others, honestly, I don't want to get into the
Okay.
design something for that.
Would it be okay, can you approve that part? Then I can get a building permit to do that and come back after the doors and the windows are in after I do the building permit, because I can't get a building permit until I get through.
I understand. That would require, that would be another application submittal. That wouldn't be part of, I don't see that as part of this application. In other words, that would be, you have to resubmit and come before the board with those requests.
Okay, well, a railing, is it absolutely required? Because to code, that porch isn't high enough to require.
No, you're probably correct. I'm not the code official, and I'm not going to speak to that specifically. But by code, it may not be. I would think with a liability issue, potential liability issue, I mean, that's obviously, that's something you would need to check with the code official.
I'm 85% sure that that porch is not high enough to require a rail.
I would tend to agree, but I'm not in that position.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
I also have a problem with the big window.
well, that's, so I guess my point of order would be, we need to look at this application as it is brought to us tonight.
Okay.
We can't, you know, if a railing is required, that's gonna be something else. Certainly the deck, the flooring is gonna need to be redone. I mean, you know, the applicant stated he doesn't want to have the plywood there.
I can replace it as it is with plywood, I don't have a problem with that. I thought that it would make it nicer. I can repair,
no,
I can
no.
repair it
Totally. It would
and
make
put it back
nicer.
the way
It's
it
not-
is.
It's not
So
that.
it's safe.
It's, you know, that's, you know, we have applicants who come in with nothing more than replacing a floor and stairs, you know, exterior porch floor and stairs. So,
Because this was never brought up at the last meeting. This is going into the third month.
I understand.
If I have to wait another month, that's 4 months. And I'm frozen, I'm invested in this, and I can't move.
Okay, no, I understand. So then we can certainly hear your application, just as it's presented tonight, relocation, or excuse me, replacement of a window with a door and replacement of a window with a picture window. You can do that.
Okay, and then the other thing too, to make it clear with the window, on the historical recommendations, it says to look around and see what's close to your existing building. And the building to the right, where the bakery is, does have very large. So it's in a transition. One half to the left is residential with a porch, with screened-in porch, and about the same condition as our front porch. But right to the right is a building with probably 6 or 7 windows that are this big.
Well, I think, and you're right, but I think to be fair, and I realize what the zoning is for this particular, you know, it's residential, commercial, I believe. But to be fair, the building to the right was built, I'm sure, as a commercial space. That, with picture windows, your building, this building at one time, I'm sure, was purely residential.
If you look at the map about the time that property was built, it was a livery stable.
Okay.
So I mean, that's, in my defense, it was a commercial piece of property at one time.
Right. but
Nobody
the
knows
intention-
what that looks like.
The intention of the commercial residential district, the intent was to retain the existing residential look while incorporating commercial uses. So
Okay.
you may use it commercially,
Okay,
but the look has to retain its residential
okay.
appearance. And to that end, that window doesn't conform to either the historical.
Okay, none of the windows in that whole
Guidelines.
building are going to be replacement vinyl windows. If you could please make that a note. And all I'm doing is replacing a window. We can do it the same size, but there's one mullion horizontal piece in the front window. So it wouldn't be asking too much to have it as a plate.
Guideline says using proportions that are similar to and compatible with the proportions of the windows and doors on the surrounding historic facades. The original windows should be retained if possible. If not, consider replacing the windows and doors only when they're missing or beyond repair. But in your case, you're looking to replace it to adapt your structure to a commercial use.
Correct.
But it's also going to be residential still,
Correct.
both.
Not on that floor. The second floor is residential.
Right, plate glass windows and staff's recommendation, it says plate glass windows are not permitted in that
Okay.
zone. So I don't know that we have a whole lot
Would the
we can do about that.
current size of the window hurt the potential business that you're trying to put in there?
Well, if you, I don't think you have a picture in front of you, or maybe you do. It's just, it's probably smaller than what was there originally, to be honest with you. It's a replacement window. And I guess if I could replace that size with just an insulated window, we'd both be happy.
Yeah, I mean, all these windows, at least from the picture, look like they're about the same size.
They are good.
And really, then the only part of the application would be changing the one window to a door.
That's correct. And that is,
Yeah,
and have matching doors on both sides.
right.
Correct.
Well, that would probably be more compatible with that one.
Yes. Yeah, I think it would. You were gonna use this as a woodworking?
When I have a retail store, I make furniture.
Okay, right.
Not on the premises, away from the premises, and have retail space on the first floor and residence on the second.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I recall.
So the existing little window would stay, is that what we're saying?
Mhm. Yes.
And the door on the right, the window on the right would be replaced by a door.
Correct. And matching 6-panel doors, right and left. So 6-panel door on the left to get egress to the second floor residential unit. And the door on the right to get to be used by the commercial space. Yes.
And the door on the left, is there plywood there right now where
What
the,
it was is.
where the light
it was
panels were?
70s, what do they call those, lights on both sides
Right.
of the door. They just put it in there, it's nowhere near original. That'll be taken out,
Okay.
replaced with the photograph of the doors, the 6-panel doors, so it'll all match.
So then you'll just run the siding right
Right.
up to the door frame. Okay.
Are you able to get siding that would match? I mean, I
What
know
I'll
this is-
do is take the vinyl siding off of the facade, and there's wood, cypress,
Yeah,
lap
behind it.
siding, that will reappear.
Oh, okay, so you're gonna strip the vinyl off?
This off the front.
Okay. But you would leave it on the sides and the
Yes,
back?
sir.
So my concern is that should there not be some type of, something across the porch, so when you walk out that second door, if you weren't thinking, you would just walk right out, right
Well,
there?
no, I realize that, and we kind of discussed that. I don't feel it's appropriate for us
Okay.
to design a railing. If the code official determines that a railing is necessary for this particular use, we'll go from there.
Okay.
So this hasn't gone before the code review yet?
I'm assuming not.
Okay, so then that's fine, then I think, if we, didn't comment on the railing at this
Correct.
point, let the code officials,
Yes,
Okay.
work on that through their review, that's fine.
yeah.
It's going to be noted.
That. So
It's not
from
in the
here,
application.
the applicant goes and applies for his building permit. Code official reviews the application, plans, and then would determine at that time. So this is just part, I don't think we have to note it because this is just
Okay.
part of the
Right.
process.
They'll do that anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
maybe I missed it in your application, the size of the doors, are they 30 inch, 32 inch?
No, the new doors will be 36.
Okay, so they're gonna be 36-inch doors, okay. The door that's there now is probably less than that, I'm guessing?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Is that a 24-inch door with two 12-inch skylights? Was that a 48-inch opening?
I know that's
I'm not
bigger
sure
than that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is bigger
It's
than
not,
that.
it's pretty close,
Yeah. I'm
but
guessing.
the opening should be wider than
So I do notice the vinyl siding above the porch roof
that.
is detaching in some areas. And I'm wondering if you're removing the vinyl siding beneath the porch roof to reveal the original cypress wood siding of the structure. Are you
Well, yeah, well,
considering
you-
doing it above the roof as well?
Well, the
So
applicant,
that the facade is consistent?
yeah, well, that's what he said he was gonna remove it from the facade, so.
No, is it just down
From
here?
down there, no, if I can get by with, like, the rest of it, the siding, I've reattached it, I don't know how old those photographs are, but, that building, a few months ago, 3 months ago, had spots where the siding was missing. So it can either be, I prefer to reattach it above the roof until we get to that instead of starting on it right away, because once you take it off of that, then you've got to do the,
Well, that's not really, I mean, that's not really part of the application. I think Mr.
No.
Gay brought that up because there'd have to be some fill-in on either side of a new door.
yeah, that
Where would
will be,
that, where would that vinyl siding come from to match? So the applicants proposed to just remove it all,
Mhm.
and then you'll fill in with wood siding.
yes, sir.
Okay.
And that's fine.
But just beneath the roof line?
Yes,
Yes.
below the porch roof.
Yeah. And if it's loose above it, I'll reattach it.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Gay, do you have any questions?
No.
Susan?
No.
Further questions?
No.
Yeah, I do that.
Okay, there be no further questions?
I would make a motion to approve the applicant for certificate of appropriateness to replace the existing front door to the 36-inch wide 6-panel door. To approve the applicant's request to change the window on the furthest right as you're facing the house to the same 36-inch wide 6-panel door. To reject the applicant's request to replace the window with a 3x5 single plate glass window, and to approve the applicant's request to remove the vinyl siding beneath the roof line so that it meets the molding of the new doors with the cypress that was existing.
We have
A second.
a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None.
Okay.
Good luck with the project.
Could I ask you a question? Have you talked with anybody with the Main Street Initiative
No, I
about renovation support for your building? Because you're in that zone, and they may have some programs where they can help you with the front of the building.
I think
okay.
he needs to take that up with the town planner.
Yeah.
He can do that.
Yeah, now who, or when do they have those meetings?
Let's,
with the Main
let's
Street
carry
Initiative?
this, once you discuss that with the town planner following this meeting.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. 616 Strawberry Street. Want to come up and state your name, please?
First of all, I want to apologize for being late and interrupting the meeting. So I made a lot of noise. I had some interruptions in my day. It didn't work out like I had planned. But my name is William Manning, and I'm representing Paul and Rel. They want to build a rental property on the corner of Washington and Strawberry Street, and the lot next door to it, which would be I guess Lot A on that portion of the property.
Okay, if you want to tell us a little bit about your application.
Basically what we want to try to do is build a two-story homes. One of them I've already previously had approval on, and the only alterations that we did on that one, I did on Strawberry Street, on the corner of Strawberry and Jefferson, pretty much on that area there. I think it's like 625, I believe. That was last year. And this house is similar to that. The only difference is we've added a little bit of length to it, and we have put a balcony porch on the roof area above the first floor porch. And then the other house is basically what we're doing today is we're taking the old house that's there now down to the foundation, shoring up the foundation, putting in new piers and so forth that were needed to structurally support the house to meet the 2015 codes now. And then we've already submitted the letter and everything to Jeb on that part of it, so he has that copy. And we also want to build back a carport on the left side of that home, and what we're going to do is come in through the entrance that's already existing now off of Washington Street. There's a cutout there in the curb for an entrance. We're going to utilize that as a driveway to bring it into that carport, and also create a parking area for off-road parking for the house adjacent to it.
So, okay, so there's two applications here. One is 616 Strawberry, which consists of the demolition or partial demolition of the existing.
Basically, that's coming down to the foundation.
Okay. And that house where it sits now fronts on Strawberry Street. So what you're proposing is that the house then turns and fronts on Washington. With the carport to the east side of the house.
Right, between the two homes.
Okay. And so with the existing home that's there now, the little bungalow, that house, stick-built home, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I know it's on a cinder block foundation. That house, when the historic register was established for the town, and the inventory of historic structures was done within the town in 1990, that house that wasn't listed. It wasn't a listed dwelling then. Since 1990, that house is now considered a contributing structure. Am I not correct?
That's correct.
You're correct.
Okay, even though it's a modern, quote-unquote, bungalow, little rancher, that is a contributing structure. And so we're going to tend to view that demolition slightly differently, more differently than we would have if it was a more recent home that wasn't contributing. With that said, we're charged with protecting the integrity of the district. The district begins to unravel as homes that are now contributing structures begin to be removed. So I've not been inside that house, but I've walked around it and spent some time looking at it, and I understand the desire of the owners and as you as the applicant. I've read through your application, which is, they're always very thorough. And I've also looked at the engineer's report, you know, basically saying that the house foundation lends itself to a second floor. There was no mention in the engineer's report that the current structure that's there is compromised in such a way that would require it to be demolished. So that said, I'm going to open this up to the board for questions, but I just wanted to kind of put that out there, that this is, you know, we're looking at this now, it's not the demolition of just a little rancher, this is now a contributing structure, and
Yeah, I understand this.
okay, I just wanted to,
Yes, to become, yes.
it's changed since
Yeah,
1990.
I understand that now, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I guess I don't understand why it has to front on the Washington Street. I mean, it's addressed as Strawberry Street. And I understand you want to put something else on this property, but it's a change of address of a contributing structure.
Is there enough room on the adjacent property to put the other house
Yes.
on it, and would that be on Strawberry?
No, that house would face Washington Street.
Okay, so one would be on Washington, one would be on Strawberry, but then I think you mentioned in the application that part of the house sits on the other lot.
6 inches. 6 inches of, actually, it's not sitting on the lot, it just doesn't give me the 5 feet that I need.
Okay.
It's like 4 foot, we're right at 6 inches.
Yeah, when I first started to read it, it sounded almost as if it was gonna be on the southern lot, and I was gonna say, boy, that, you may be buying yourself all kinds of problems with that, but now I understand.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just borrowing 6 inches of that property to give me my 5 foot easement that I need in order to achieve that goal, to put both houses there. I didn't have the house structurally looked at when the engineer looked at the foundation. I did not have that done because I didn't assume that I was going to have to, and there we go, assuming something again, which is not good. But I didn't assume that I was going to need to at that time. But I mean, if I have to, I can have that done as well. But you know, I didn't, you know, figure that would be a necessity. But if it comes down to it, I can leave a portion of one wall of the old home, so I can leave some of the integrity there if that is necessary as well.
Yeah, so if you don't want to come and just come up and
Wanna come up?
introduce yourself, please.
The house, sorry, my name's Paul Kelvin. The house that's on the lot now, our initial plan was to fix it up and do it. And what we did was start in there to just remove some of the stuff because everything was left in the house. Like the person that was in there left food on the stove and things like that. Well, there was a freezer that was full of fish, and it turned to mush and ran out. And we tried to get the smell out by even taking up the hardwood floor out of there, and I've had to dump it. I was trying to save some of the thing, but I cannot get the smell out, and it's gone up into the wood. And we just keep pouring stuff in there to try and get the smell up, but it hasn't been working. And so we looked at the thing to make the house longer and have access onto one end in through in both ends. The accesses will be off Strawberry Street because what faces Washington is Roman. But that was why we decided we've got to do something about it and change the thing because we can't deal with the smell that's soaked into the wood.
Understand.
And,
So the foundation for this home on 616, according to the engineer's report, is usable as it is. Okay.
Yes. It would have to be pointed up and repaired in a few spots here and there, but the actual foundation itself is usable. The exterior part of it, the interior, like I said, we'll have to go in and put new piers in to shore up the floor system because it's not adequate to take care of what we plan to put on top of it.
So would there be piers, or would there be a solid foundation center wall?
Through the center, there would be piers.
Okay, just as you show here.
Yes.
Okay. But that gets back to the demolition.
The overlay is what we have to go through, the historic guidelines, right? So the purpose of the district is to provide for protection against destruction or encroachment on historic areas, et cetera, et cetera. Things that contribute to the cultural, social, economic, political, artistic, or architectural heritage of the neighborhood. So the architectural heritage of the neighborhood is what interested me. So I'm going to take some pictures today. You have a mid-century rancher, and the house behind you is a mid-century rancher, and the houses next to you are mid-century ranchers. Going up Washington Street,
Right. I think there's
400
2 or
block,
3.
500 block, there are 6
Yeah.
like yours.
That's further, yeah.
The one across the street from you is like what you said, they fixed up what you have, so there's another one there. I feel that that's the architectural heritage of the neighborhood. So I understand you might have some significant renovations you want to do because of the neglect that was done by the prior owner. But even if you were to rebuild, I would recommend that it is on the existing foundation, which has not been deemed unusable, and that it retain the character of the rest of the neighborhood. I would also recommend that rolling the 2 houses into one application doesn't make sense.
Well, there are
616
actually
There are two
two
There's two
applications.
applications.
It's called A1, yeah, 616 is parcel A, and then this is A2.
Right, but that's
that
we'll
fronts
deal
Washington
with the
Street.
second, we'll deal with the second one.
So I was just trying to make a point that the architectural heritage of the neighborhood is what you have. And I'd be concerned looking at the drawings and the elevations that those styles are inconsistent with the architectural heritage of the adjacent properties and the neighborhood at large.
There is a home on the corner, not really on the corner, but on Strawberry Street, up in the next block, that is 2 stories.
There's also some new homes further to the west on, there's also homes further to the west on Washington Street that are somewhat similar. And now I understand the immediate adjoining properties, but Washington Street is, it's been a transitional kind of area in town.
Jefferson Street has been the same way.
To some degree, yes, it has. I guess, I can certainly appreciate the owner's issue with the offensive odor that's in the present home. I understand it's just the nature of the material. It's going to take up that smell, especially if it gets doused in something unpleasant.
Yes.
But again, it goes, you know, it's now a contributing structure, which makes it a little more difficult for us. Like in my opinion, and I'm only one member of this board, but it's a fairly high hurdle that has to be surmounted for me to feel comfortable allowing demolition of a historic structure. Now, that said, we did allow the demolition of a structure on the corner of Nectarine and Washington some years ago, if you recall. It was a cement block house. It had no floors. The roof was collapsing and it had no water or soil hookup. And in that house, we did allow that to go away. We also had concurrence from the code official to do that. The code official submitted a report, if you recall. I'm not familiar with any other demolitions that in the 6 years I've been on this board that we've allowed other than concurring on a couple, two that I can remember in the south of Washington that the code official brought before us. It was either demolition by neglect, and they were a safety issue because they were literally falling into the street.
Right.
Yeah.
So the only one that we've approved, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's been the one on Nectarine in Washington. And again, it was at the recommendation of the code official. This is a little different, and I appreciate the owners. I appreciate their desire to make improvements, and I certainly appreciate their desire to have a home that's less odorous, maybe. But I just have a problem with the plot with this demolition. I'm only one member of this board, and so I'm really hoping that.
I'd like to ask Mr. Manning a question.
Sure,
On the other
please.
house that you were talking about putting up on this site, you would have to pour a footer, right?
Yes.
How deep would that footer have to be?
It's gonna be 12 inches in the ground.
Because that's code, right?
Yes.
Well, according to your engineer, the current house is only 10 inches.
Well, the actual footer itself is 10 inches. It has to be 12 inches in the ground. It has to be 4 inches below or 2 inches below the frost line here. So it'd actually be 10 inches by 20 inches in dimension. And that footer is 24 inches wide by 10 inches deep.
But it's supposed to be 12 deep in the ground.
It only has to be 10 inches, but it has to be 12
Okay.
inches. This more than 12 inches in the ground. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's probably more like about 15 inches in the ground, the surface of it, you know, the total of it now. So it's more than adequate to take care of the second floor. And we dug up 6 different locations on the foundation, 2 in the back on each corner, 1 in the middle on each side, and then 2 in the front on each corner, so that he could be assured that, you know, the whole perimeter of the foundation was adequate to take care of it on there. And that was in his report as well.
Right.
Do you wish to?
Just say something.
Yeah.
The structural integrity of that building at the moment, the bedroom that's right on the corner, the roof is collapsed in on the bedroom, water comes straight into there, and the place is black with mould, the bathrooms and things like that. The roof at the back, the rafters are rotted through, so I haven't examined anything. The windows that are in there are cheap vinyl ones that they just leak in the walls, so all that's all gone turned mould. How you know, attacking it as a renovation to restore it, you'd be pulling it to basically the skeleton. Subfloor would have to come up too because of the stuff that's soaked in it.
Right.
But you know, mould issues and stuff that's all through the place. It's you know, and all the siding, you'll probably notice if you drive past, it's just all rotted and starting to fall off.
It's wood siding, redwood siding on there currently?
Yeah, it's got some sort of a compressed board siding that's, once it's lost its surface, it's absorbing moisture and swelling up.
Like a masonite type.
Yeah,
No,
like a
it's,
masonite.
okay, right, it's an old masonite,
Yeah.
10 inch board or something,
Yeah.
8 inch, whatever it was, yeah, I'm familiar with that product.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's only.
I mean, what we
that
would
is
have to do
always
in order
good.
to bring it back to life would pretty much take it down to the, you know, anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not that we want to do it, it's that, you know, one way or the other, we would have to end up pretty much doing it anyway. So, and in 2005 or 6, I believe, I did a home on Jefferson Avenue. It was 624, 645. We took that one down to the ground too. That one, we had to completely demolish it and take 2 trees out, and then I rebuilt a new home back there on that corner. Well, it's not on the corner now. It was on the corner at the time, and there's a new home beside it now.
Mhm.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the engineering report, I understand there's a lot of interior concerns, but he's stating that he was requested by you to deem whether or not the foundation could support a second
Mm-hmm.
floor. So, it does, he says it does.
Yes.
So I heard you saying something about we could retain one wall.
If you want us to try to retain one wall so it can keep part of its historic character, I can do that. I mean, if you would like. It's basically what we do by doing that is grandfather everything else into the home from that point.
Are you looking to demo this foundation?
No, the foundation will stay as is. We're going to leave the blocks as they are. We're just going to go back and point it up and repair it where it needs to be repaired, and then put in piers where they need to be placed to support the floor joists so that it would take care of the floor system from that point on. And those things I would have to do even with his report, because that, yeah.
Right.
I would suggest maybe an engineering report to see if the structure is sound enough to keep, possibly.
I was, yeah, you know, that's a good recommendation, Zach, and I was actually thinking, you know, I'm very sensitive to the whole issue with mold and health impacts. My suggestion would be, let's ask the code official to go inspect the house with your permission and make a recommendation to this board. Because without, I walked around the perimeter, but obviously I'm not going to go in. That would be my suggestion. I think we probably need to table this tonight, this particular application, 616.
Okay.
And give the code official an opportunity to inspect it and then make a recommendation to this board. If the code official feels that this is beyond his purview, which I kind of doubt myself, but if he does, maybe at that point we'll need to get, you know, and I hate to ask the applicants to bring in another engineering report, but I'd prefer if the code official can make that call. He's done this before. Sure. Does that satisfy you?
Okay.
I need to make a motion.
Do you want me to contact Jim, or do you want to?
I think we'll let Zach handle that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And I'll contact you to schedule everything.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
And you may want to have to, you know, however this is done, whether it's the builder or the owners and however that's handled, I think.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
I'd like to have a motion though to continue, for continuance here with the recommendation that the code official inspects the property, so it's on the record.
make a motion that we continue this discussion of 616 Strawberry until the code official has a chance to look at it and put forth his recommendations to the board.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay, thank you. Roll on, please. Okay.
This board is our code official licensed structural engineer.
Don't believe so. I know he's just a licensed building official. I'm not sure about, I don't think he's not.
He's looking for a license code official. Okay, we're going to move along to item 6B, 300 block Washington Avenue. You don't want us to use your name again for the record, please?
William E. Manning, I'm representing Paul and Joe. We're in the process of trying to get approval for a two-story home that would face Washington Street. The exterior siding would be a hardy siding. The roof would be a 30-year architect shingle. We also would like to get a second floor porch over top of the center portion of the lower porch for a balcony.
In this house, Mr. Manning would be, so the overall dimension of the building is 20 feet?
It's 20 feet wide
Yes.
and 27.3 long.
So it's going to be similar to the one
Yeah.
kind of across from Cool.
The ice cream shop?
Yes.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay.
It's pretty much the same. The only difference is that one, I couldn't put that little octagon window that you requested me to do because the staircase hit right into that turn I had to put in the staircase, hit right in where that window was going to go. So I wasn't able to do that, but this one I can. So that would give it the,
To get you some light in the
yes,
stairwell area.
that stairwell area as you first come in there. Mhm.
I don't have any personal, I don't have any real concerns with the house. I'm just, I guess my only concern would be the second floor porch and the fact that appears to bump out past the section on either side.
Yes,
So
it does.
there'd be, come out and then come out again. And that's my only, it's just, again, it just looks,
Aesthetic.
pardon me, but I'm gonna say it just looks odd. Right? It just, in my opinion, if the porch was all, as you stand and look at it, from east to west, west to east, if the porch was all placed, that would be more aesthetically pleasing to me.
Well, it's kind of like the little house I built, it has the same effect to it too. It comes out and goes back in with that same
Yeah,
offset. The only difference is I didn't put the balcony up above.
yeah, maybe that's, but, you know, all the other specifications you called for, you know, these are all things we've approved in the past, various homes. So when you say 3.5-inch PVC corners, you're talking like AZAC or
Yes.
some equivalent material?
Yeah, I don't want to use hardy because hardy breaks too easy. It's too brittle to work with. And it's very hard. So AZAC is much easier to work with, plus it's some more maintenance-free material.
Right, okay, but you did say, so with the siding, you have the smart side
Now, this particular house, we're planning to use the hardy siding on it,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
And is this one going to face Strawberry or face Washington?
It's going to be facing Washington, this
Okay.
one will. Yeah, we don't have any choice on that, unless we start facing the two adjoining houses, we wouldn't look very right on that.
So Zach, with regard to, and I realize it's only 6 inches, but it's only 6 inches. The impingement on that building restriction line, the 5-foot setback, so how does that get handled?
So the first step would be approval from this board for the design and everything, and then they'll get zoning, or board of zoning.
Appeals would approve that?
Give you a variance.
For the
Give you a variance.
Variance.
Okay, so what's the first step to the second step?
Yeah, we got to start here first.
Yeah, okay, no,
At
I'm
least
saying,
in this circumstance,
okay,
because if they can't build a house, they don't want to waste their time getting a.
understand.
I have a question. I know it's only 6 inches, but if this property is sold and the new owners want this back, they want to build something else here and they need that, what do they do?
So this would be, well, that's the Board of Zoning Appeals, they would approve it for this specific development. And then if any additions or anything like that were to happen or they demolished, it would go back to where it's supposed to be the 5-foot setback. So,
It'd be an easement.
But I think what you're saying, Terry, is it's not so much this house, but it's the adjoining house.
I mean, this has happened on Jefferson, that people can't do any work now because the property's been split up and it was sold that way because.
Right, the lots were broken up years ago.
So can 660 Strawberry give an easement to the new number on Washington? Will that be a new house number? The new house that's proposed, that's going to face
Well,
Washington?
it'll have a new
It'll
number.
have a new number,
yeah,
so
it's gonna be
whatever that
completely
number
different
is.
law.
Yeah.
Can an easement be granted from one parcel to the next?
An owner can gift part of their lot, if they both own the property, they can gift it. But again, yeah, Board of Zoning Appeals, they have criteria that they go through to determine a hardship, and as the properties have been split in the past, and that could provide a hardship for the specific property to meet the ordinance.
I mean, it's a non-conforming lot, obviously, and it's just, yeah, we've had these,
I'm struggling with one of those right now over on Palm Street, where we had to vacate the property line.
Exactly.
And then had to do that.
right, and
Yeah.
so this, some of these lots make for some pretty small homes. There's some land built over on Strawberry and corner from Jefferson there.
And then you were proposing to have one driveway shared between the two?
Yes, it'll be shared between the two.
The driveway coming in the thing is like the width for 2 driveways. It's already,
The curb cut.
the curb
Yeah,
is
the curb
being,
cut's already.
it's been cut up to double width.
Okay.
And that can always be an easement too, that
Yeah.
runs with the property.
But that's
a
not
problem.
really our concern. I just asked a question, just point of interest on my part, how that is handled. But yeah, that's not, we don't need to address that. Ours is to approve the plan, the application is applied.
Just a suggestion, this house is going to be on Washington Street.
Yes.
It's going to have a great view. Why wouldn't you run that porch all the way across the front at the top? I mean, it's just perfect. I'm not saying that I would disapprove it because it isn't, but it's,
I have no problems with it to do that sort of thing, but It is, we had the survey done, the plat done, and that was put through Eastville for subdivision to break that up, and that went through. It's not that the two houses will be side by side because it's the backyard of 616 that comes up to that, so what we're looking at is coming 6 inches closer to that backyard. It's not encroaching on another building as such, and the house beside is a red brick home, which is a low set, just a single foot on ground. That's quite a distance away because their driveway's right on this side there.
So what would be the address of this house?
Ma'am?
What would be the address of this house?
I don't know. I wouldn't know. I don't know the house next to it. The one on the left of it, facing it, I don't know that address.
Again, that's not really,
Right.
it's neither here nor there for purposes of this application.
Does it front on Washington?
It would,
Yes.
both homes
Both
are front
homes
on
front
Washington.
on Washington.
Yes, ma'am.
The access to 616 is from off Strawberry Street, both ends of it.
So wrap
Has a
around.
wrap around there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
and so access off Strawberry Street going up stairs at both ends of the house.
The steps currently are on VDOT land.
Yeah,
The actual steps, front door steps are over on VDOT land.
yeah.
Internet easement. Okay, well, that's not
Not
surprising.
It's
our
not
issue
your
either.
thing, I
No,
think.
that's not anything for us to concern ourselves with. So, Mr. Manning, you're just looking at the front elevation of this proposed new home. I'm just gonna go over this, so weight vinyl 6/6 windows, 6/6
Yes.
windows, okay. You do have, it does say smart side siding, so we do need to,
Yeah, it was.
Yes.
No, it is.
it's gonna be hardy
Yes, it's going to
plank
be hard.
siding now, okay.
Yeah.
30-year shingles, which is typical in the district. PVC corners, as I've asked about. The porch posts appear to be square.
Yes, there would be a 6x6 PVC wrap, white.
Okay. Okay. That's good. And then sitting on a hard foundation. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Mhm.
Okay. The porch floor on both this first and that small second floor would be what type of material?
That both floors would be a soft treated material,
Okay, like a 5/4 by 6 or something?
5/4 board,
Okay.
soft treated.
Mhm.
That would be a pressure treated deck up above as well as down below. With skirting around the facing.
Which would be AZAC or
Yes.
some similar material. Not just raw pressure treated.
No. Yeah.
Just walking through this. The rear deck would be the same, open, not covered.
Right, it would have a covered base under the bottom,
Right,
skirting,
but
but it would be an open deck, yes.
same 5/4 by 6
Yes,
material.
same type of rails, and it would be a PVC rail going around with 2 to 2 pickets. And then the rest of it would be covered under the bottom, like I said, and then the deck boards would be the same as the front 5/4 by pressure treated.
So the rear deck would be skirted with lattice or some
Yes.
material like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I noticed you call for scallop siding in the gable,
Yes.
both front and rear gable.
Yes, and we'll have an eyebrow across the front part of the gable as well as on the rear to give that transition to break between the 2 points.
Okay. Okay. Soffit and fascia to be AZAC material or similar?
The fascia would be a 2x6 wrap with a coil PVC wrap, and the under soffit itself, the vented soffit, would be a 4x4 vinyl vented soffit underneath.
Okay.
So keep it as maintenance free as possible.
Right, okay. Okay, and you call for a 12-inch?
12-inch overhang all the way around. Gables and
So typical?
yeah, typical
New
typical
construction.
12-inch overhang.
Okay. Okay. They French doors on the rear or sliding glass doors? The rear elevation? Or is that to be determined? The plan I'm looking at, it doesn't really,
Yeah,
it's a,
I think what I have drawn here is a sliding door, a 6-foot slider.
okay.
That could be optional, up to them on their choice on what they plan to use, but
Well, right, sliding versus French.
yeah,
But it will be a 6.
it would be a 6-foot opening, yes.
And then if this is approved as applied for with the, looking at the front elevation, it looks like the front door, 6 lights above 2 panels or similar,
Yes.
okay? And the second floor door on that little porch would be a French door,
Full view.
full view.
I think it's like 16 or 19 lights, I believe.
Right, okay, it's full view with lines. Okay.
Yeah, so it would blend in with the rest of the
Right,
architecture.
okay. And again, a little octagonal window is at the base of the stairs.
Right. Yeah, I can have volumes put in that as well, if you feel like it needs to be, so.
Now that doesn't look small enough that volumes would just, in my opinion, it would just
Probably overwhelming.
It would crowd
Yeah,
too much.
that's what I was thinking, that's why I put it in that way.
Well, I've asked the applicant a lot of questions. Does the board have any other questions?
Since then, I forwarded the key messages,
I think the design is lovely, it's a lovely designed house.
That little house we did on Strawberry, it really turned out beautiful. And I was surprised because when I first started, I didn't, it was so small, you didn't realize it was going to turn out so well, but it did. And the girls that moved in there, they really picked out the really nice colors to go with it as well.
What does concern me though, is it the right style for that neighborhood? Because what we're talking about here, if we look at the streetscape,
Yep.
we've just deemed that all these ranchers are now conforming homes.
And I hate to.
We have a corner lot where we're proposing a 2-story house. Going down the rest of the 300, 400, and 500 block of Washington are 1-story ranchers. And going down the other side of the 2-story house on Strawberry are ranchers. Across the street is a rancher. And they're all now conforming properties. They're now all historical. This is a beautiful home, but it doesn't fit in with the streetscape of the neighborhood.
I have another applicant that I'll be putting in for probably here before too long that wants to build a 2-story house behind the one that we want to demolition.
One of the things I start to wonder about is, as Cape Charles becomes a more desirable place to live, we're replacing all these smaller, modest homes with larger homes. Do we change the fabric of our community? In that particular neighborhood, that's a part of the community that was built to be able to appeal to people who could afford that, to live here, but it took that size house. And now those are contributing. So that is now a very relevant thing to think about. do we start tipping the dominoes and then all of these conforming structures are going to become applicants for demolition? That's a concern I have.
Just excuse me for a minute, that isn't actually correct, because next to the ranch house are two brand new buildings being built that are two-story, very similar in construction to what we're putting along one house from that.
And then
So, and then further down, there's another two or three two-story houses going on.
On
Right.
Washington Street.
What I'm talking about is.
So right here is two brand new constructions, two-story places.
This house you're proposing though is going to be flanked by one-story houses. Multiple one-story houses in both directions. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
except for 4 lots down in there as well.
There's
Further
two
down
of
on
them.
Strawberry, going towards Jefferson. Yeah. This house is gonna face Washington.
Right, you know, in Washington, as you're going toward the beach, there are houses that are 2-story. Right, and then you come to your block, and then you're proposing to have 2 houses which will be 2-story. And then you move down, and then it goes to the smaller
So you've got
houses.
the ranch house there, and then you've got the church.
Right, and then as you
on
go
the next
further
block,
down,
you've got
you start to
further
see
down,
the
you get to
2-story
see-
houses again. So Washington's really kind of a mixed street.
It is, and I
So
guess,
here's the view shed.
I guess my
So there's the house.
Right,
My
That's the
feeling,
Strawberry, that's the
I'm
Washington.
very familiar with
So
it.
there's
I
the
know
view
every lot
shed.
in town.
Yeah. So those are 1.5-story houses, and they're still consistent, and they're conforming. All of these mid-century ranchers are now conforming homes.
my feeling, the ranchers further to the east of Washington, the road of those ranchers, are probably modular homes, double wides would be my guess, when they were put in there. What did they replace? And, at one point in time, there were mobile homes on the corner of Strawberry and Madison, I believe, in that area. So, I'm less concerned about the 2-story structures there, because I've always viewed Washington Street, to some degree Jefferson, as a really transitional neighborhood. It's as you work your way out toward Plum Street, you have a commercial business that was dropped in there amongst historic homes, and I don't personally think it's fair that we limit an applicant to a 20-foot by 27-foot rancher. 20 by
I
27.
wasn't suggesting limiting them to a ranch.
No, I know, but your argument is that this house is inappropriate.
My
So-
argument is not consistent with the view shed of the streetscape, if you look at it in
Well,
both
then-
directions.
what
And then
is-
it overlooks the other
What
homes.
would be your suggestion to the applicant?
I'm not here to make a suggestion, I'm here
I
to
understand.
use the guidelines of the
So
historic
do we, okay,
district
so,
overlay as to, is it architecturally relevant to the neighborhood? And it doesn't seem to be so.
so then we choose to make a motion to not approve this. And when it comes before the town council, the argument is, well, because it's not appropriate in this location, which then means the only appropriate type of building would be a 20-foot by 27-foot ranch, which, we're also, this is new construction. This isn't
Right, that's the
restoration.
difference.
We're
We're not
also-
talking about the demolished house.
No,
Right.
we're also,
New constructions, but within the overlay,
we also run the risk,
conforming structure.
we also run the risk of the applicant, then being able to say this is a quasi-takings because we're denying them the use of their property other than a 20 by 27 foot rancher. And I honestly, in good faith, I could not go before the town council and defend a decision like that. I couldn't do it. Even though I understand your argument that the view shed is such. But I just, you know, we're working
So,
with.
I'm
we're
just
working
going
with-
by the regulations.
Well, these aren't regulations. These are guidelines.
Right, but also in our regulations, or zoning, you brought up it going up against the review board, in which case we have to look at regulations. And the zoning district is intended to provide quiet, medium-density, single-family residential development. Regulations for this district are designated to stabilize and protect the essential characteristics of the district, to promote and encourage suitable environment, friendly way, et cetera, et cetera.
Sorry, just on that note, though, if you're looking at regulations, one of the stipulations we were given for building a new building was it could not go under 960
Square
Correct.
feet
square
of
footage.
living area.
Right.
To replace a
27
bungalow
by 20
would not be, in that space, would not be conducive to
doesn't
that
comply to
regulation.
regulation.
That was why we went two-story.
You know, we have to do a really delicate dance on this board. Because while I understand the view shed and maintaining that and looking at applications kind of on a block-by-block basis, we also have to realize this is new construction. I personally couldn't justify restricting the use of a property that's otherwise buildable. The only option to get livable square footage, the owners can so
I don't have a problem.
I
I
don't,
don't have a problem with that.
We have, I mean, I agree it's a new building, but it is within overlay.
yeah, and there's a lot of
As we
construction
stated,
that's been
the
within.
purpose is protection against destruction or encroachment of common historic areas, buildings, monuments, and other features or buildings that are recognized architecturally significant. I feel it does encroach. I feel building a two-story
I don't.
home that overlooks the
Well,
one-story homes as
I don't.
well.
Let's go ahead and are there any additional questions from the
No.
applicant or the property owners who are here tonight?
No.
That said, the chair would entertain a motion on the 300 block of Washington Street, tax map and parcel number 83A1-9-A1.
I make a motion that we accept the application as stated.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to accept the application as applied for. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Moving right along.
Mr. Chair, this
Yes.
is what we'll be making from the applicant.
Okay, so this is 203 and 205 Mason Avenue, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Doug.
Can you believe me?
Can you hear us?
I can.
Okay, Teresa, this is Joe Fair, I'm the chair of the Historic District Review Board. We have a full board tonight. So
Great.
There's 5 members present. And if you don't mind telling us a little bit, well, I'll ask you to state your name for the record and then explain your application, please.
My name is Teresa Sejak, and the address, as you well know, is 203 Mason. I'm getting some feedback here or something. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the application is for a balcony across the front of the building on the 2nd floor of 203 and 205. But I believe that the whole building is called 205 now. I'm still confused on that address.
It's both addresses, it's 203 and 205.
Okay. Point taken. Okay, so explain the need for the balcony.
Pardon? Explain the needs for the balcony?
Yes, please.
To sit out on the balcony and enjoy the scenery.
Okay. 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 Fair enough. You plan to use the 2nd floor as residential units, and the first 2 floors will remain as commercial space?
As far as I know, yeah.
Okay.
Certainly my area is residential, and I believe my next door neighbor is all residential.
Okay. No, we're talking about your building, no? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I have a couple of concerns with your application as submitted. I have a bit of a concern with the balcony, which would be the deck, so the walkable space, covering the decorative brickwork above the current awnings of Brown Dog and the real estate building next door. I also realize that the real estate building, part of that decorative brickwork, is covered up with some signage, but regardless.
It is.
Yeah, regardless, there's going to be a decorative element that's, once the balcony is installed or placed in that location, would cover that, probably largely from view from the street and also from the balcony itself, although you may see some portion of it, looks like.
The doors will completely cover.
Yes.
Yeah, correct. The doors, as shown, would
Take it away.
take it away.
Yes.
Obviously, with the same decorative work on this above the windows, which would be covered by the proposed roof, so I also have a problem with that.
That's not the way that I saw the drawing. As a matter of fact, I thought that the roof was going to come from, would extend out from the current roof, which the decorative, are you talking about the lighter colored brick? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, and then...
I want to make sure I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so there's a lighter colored brick, the decorative brickwork, and then there's the brick corbels, which are under the roof overhang. So it looks like to me, on the drawing that we're looking at, is the roof on the 2nd floor here above the balcony would come in underneath the corbels, the decorative brickwork there, and basically lay against the decorative brickwork above the windows.
Well, I have to apologize. I don't have the folder in front of me because currently I'm working in my restaurant and I'm just, to be honest with you, I've been waiting since 6 o'clock for a phone call. So I don't have the folder in front of me. If I don't recall that being covered up. And there is also an option, there is a drawing, I don't know whether you have it, but there is a drawing that was submitted by my next door neighbor that it would be, there could be one without a roof, but it would have maybe a type of awning that could be pulled out and not pulled out, that sort of thing. So I'm not sure about that since I don't have it in front of me. And I do apologize. As you are well aware, we were both there in December for the meeting, and of course it couldn't happen. So I'm at a little bit of a loss right now, not looking at those pictures.
Yeah, we don't. We do not have a drawing showing an awning versus a roof. What we're looking at is we're looking at a fixed roof, the standing seam metal roof. So we do not have that.
Mr. Chairman, the town planner, town manager, nor I received any additional information
And when
for this application.
when talking with the applicant, or with the lady that's on the phone now, a couple days ago, I informed her that we had not received that, and gave her my email to see.
Okay.
I never received anything.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
So the town planner has just stated that he's provided one of the owners, you or the adjoining owner, whoever that may be, with his email address, and has not received any further documentation, i.e. an awning that would cover the second floor balcony. So all we're looking at is a roof structure, a fixed in place roof structure.
Okay, so we obviously submitted what we wanted. So if there is still an option on the table to have the balcony without a roof, that is certainly doable. But I understand now the way that things have gone, that would take another meeting. Am I correct?
That could be a condition of approval.
Yeah, as the planner reminded us, that could be a condition of an approval we would make tonight. Would not necessitate a second meeting.
Pardon, but not what?
It would not necessitate a second meeting.
Oh, okay. There is a drawing, and Jackie Gabler does have that drawing. And I believe, do you have a letter from her saying that she is also requesting the same thing because we want this balcony to go across the entire front of the building?
No, we're looking at your application.
There's a letter from her saying that she
There is a
consents
letter
to
from her.
having the deck across the front of the building.
Okay, I stand correct. There it is.
Yes.
Dated November 16th, 2018. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that was included in the initial application.
Excuse me?
That was included in the initial
Okay,
application.
thank you. As attractive as, this is Joe Fair again, as attractive as the balcony is, and I realize there's other light balconies on Mason Avenue on either side of this particular property, the hotel being one, and
Yeah.
on the next block, what I call the Burtis Building would be another.
There's also Blue Heron.
Yeah. I'm not aware of those buildings having decorative brickwork such as this, and you know, this is a major element when you look at your building and the adjoining buildings. That, again, should this be approved, will certainly lose the decorative brickwork underneath the windows.
And you're losing some of the windows to doors.
Correct.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that comment.
You know, you're going to be losing some of the, you know, you're losing two windows to become two doors.
Well, yes, on each unit, yes, that's correct. But there's one window on my side and one window on Jackie and Hans' side, yes.
Right.
Well, the decorative top can remain. All you're doing is extending the window downward, are we not, to put in a door?
No, that's correct.
I mean,
The decorative work over the windows, but I'm talking about the decorative brickwork on the but below the windows. So that decorative, the light, you know, there's that decorative light brick below the windows, which would be completely covered. You may see some bit of it remaining, but not much.
I don't have a comment on that.
Okay. Mr. Gay, do you have any?
No, but I agree with you that this design will lose a lot of the decorative brickwork that's part of this building, which makes it unique. I don't know who actually approves signs. Is that
The planning department.
the planning department? Because if this came under our purview, I would never approve this Caldwell Banker sign. I'd say do the same thing Brown Dog did and put it on the awning.
Well, this may have, well, I don't want to say the sign preceded the Historic Review Board at some point, because I don't think it probably did, but at some point, you know, that call was made, and I agree. I totally agree. If that would come before the board today, there'd be a sign, it would be on the awning or somewhere else.
Right.
Okay, excuse me, Joe, what sign are we talking about?
Oh, well, hypothetically, we're just discussing the Caldwell Banker sign and how that obscures.
It's ugly.
It is.
It's ugly, I would agree.
It obscures that decorative brickwork, which really makes this facade of your building kind of really pop out.
But that's temporary and removable, building the balcony and changing the windows to doors.
Oh, no, correct,
Permanent
absolutely.
changes.
That's permanent.
That's correct. The sign could go away and you would recover that decorative brickwork. Once you start putting the fasteners in place and the structure in place to hold up a balcony,
And that's the only thing
That's-
that we don't really have to compromise the
that's-
integrity of the rest of the building was period of construction.
again, that would be, you know, they'd have to bring an engineer, I'm sure, in to figure that out, but, you know, it's just, the building has a very attractive facade as it stands right now.
And it's very old.
It also has a very attractive view.
I understand, no, I understand. I understand that.
But in pictures of
But we can't,
Charles, that's,
yes.
that building stands out because of the
Right.
decorative brick.
And because it's original.
Yeah,
It's original too.
you know, we can't make an approval based on a view, like the view from your building to the harbor or to the bay. That's,
And you can't guarantee you'll always have that view.
that's
That's right.
very true. That's very true. So Zach, I have a question that may again, it's more of an item of interest for me. How is, if this is approved, how is I'm asking the town planner, how is the post that support the balcony, the outbound side of that balcony, how do they, I mean, that impinges on public space or VDOT right away or?
Yeah, I mean, it'd have to be on their property. They'd have to provide a site plan showing their lot line and that it's on their, that what they're proposing is on their property, yes. So, the property line, so VDOT has roughly 8 feet, whatever, at that location. So.
8 feet from the curb in?
Yeah, from the curb to in, yeah.
And towards the building.
Mm-hmm. And then there's obviously gonna have to remain a walkway. So I put in my staff report that it would be in line, from what they're proposing, would be in line with what's existing there. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's an approvable thing. They would of course have to provide a site plan showing that it's on their property. But from what I've seen, it would allow for access underneath for pedestrians.
Okay. All right, thank you for that information.
So as I see it, this is going to hang over Brown Dog's business, right?
Yes.
Correct, and also Coldwell Banker business.
Right.
Right, and those awnings would come down, that are there now.
Their audience would have to come down.
Yes.
Well, so
No.
the applicant, when I discussed with him on the phone, I think his name is in the report as to who I specifically talked to, but they had mentioned that the awnings were proposed to remain staying there, so as is, but what they submitted in their elevation shows that the awnings are removed. But the applicant stated that they were really desiring to remain, or to keep the awnings. So,
Under a balcony. it was-
Under a
that's
balcony.
correct.
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make
Correct.
sense. Subway.
Well,
Pardon?
it's just not, that does not seem appropriate.
Why?
Well, then all of a sudden you have what in essence is a roof with a balcony, with awnings underneath the roof. It's just, I think it's the board's contention, it just gets extremely busy and cluttered.
But I think that the balcony, there's a concern of the awnings because doesn't Brown Dog have lights up inside of their awnings?
Well, that could be removed.
Yeah, any of that, you know, that sort of thing is, that's removable. Right, I don't know, I can't answer that. That's one of those things I've walked there 1,000 times and.
Well, most of the awnings do have lights to bring attention to the windows.
Sure. Do either of those awnings cover up any of the decorative brick?
From the photograph we're looking at, no ma'am. Well, I take that back. There is a small row lock of brick that's covered by the top of the balcony.
The top of the awning.
The top of the awning, excuse me. Yeah,
But those awnings are removable, they're not permanent
they're not
structures.
a permanent fixture, that's correct.
This elevation is proposed completely changes.
Well, highly unlikely they're ever going to be removed.
Elevation.
Now, the sign over at Coldwell Banker is coming down. I know, are you all aware that Rick Cheney and I own that building?
No.
No.
Yeah.
We are now.
Okay. Yeah, So we have already had a conversation with them that sign needs to come down.
There's an improvement.
You're getting nods of approval for the sign being removed from this board.
Yeah, to me, it was never attractive. But we have agreed to have lettering put on to the current awning so that it looks more uniform, to leave the awning up with Caldwell Banker and have painted on the front of it Caldwell Banker. Caldwell Banker, the same as Brown Dog.
I think the board, and I only speak for myself, but I think the board is extremely concerned about a major change, almost non-reversible change to the facade of the building by way of building a balcony. You know, you're changing the windows, 2 windows to doors, and you're going to cover up all that decorative brickwork above the awnings and below the windows. I think the board's having a real issue with that change, or the changes you've requested in your application.
I personally think that it would improve the building. I think that it adds value to the building. I think the side of the building is probably as ugly as it could possibly be right now, and I hope that the board is concerned with that. You do know what I'm talking about, correct?
The side,
You're talking about the raw brick?
The demolition of the building next door.
Right, and the need to parge it?
yeah,
Right.
yes.
Yeah, so that needs extensive work right now, and certainly we're all for doing that and making sure something happens to get that repaired, because in my opinion, if we're looking at the attractiveness of the building, it's quite the mess right now, so.
Yeah, that's not what,
That's not what is
Presented
presented.
to us.
yeah, the board.
I understand, but, you know, if we want to look at preserving the building and taking care of it and the attractiveness of it, and clearly the further value of it, I certainly see, you know, an advantage to having that balcony up there. But the board is going to let us know that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Well, is there any further questions for the applicant? Dave?
No.
No further questions? Okay, well, we don't have any further questions. If you'd like to stay on the line, I'm going to go ahead and call for a motion. We'll take a vote,
Great.
and you'll have your answer.
Great.
Okay, so I'm going to open the floor for a motion on 203 and 205 Mason Avenue as it relates to the balcony and roof structure on the front elevation as applied for.
Joe, also within this application is talking about the parging,
That's it.
or is that separate?
No, we're not, that's not this
It's a
application.
different application.
All right.
So this is only balcony and roof as shown,
And doors.
and excuse me, and the doors. The application as provided and shown tonight. So no maintenance on the side of the building, just the facade, that changed. So, anyway. We're looking for a motion.
I move that we reject the application for the balcony on 203
205.
and 205 Mason.
We have a motion.
I second.
Further, just to round out the motion, are you saying to reject the application in its entirety?
Yes.
Doors,
Yes.
roof, and balcony?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to reject the application as applied for in its entirety. We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. I'm sorry, ma'am, but, your application was rejected. So we certainly appreciate you taking the time to call in.
And when can we apply again?
You have the option to appeal our decision to the town council. And you need to reach out to the town planner, and he can provide whatever information you need to do that.
Okay,
Okay, well, thank you very much.
thank you.
All right. Mason Avenue. You don't mind stating your name for the record, please?
Yes, my name is William Ballard. My wife and I live at 115 Mason Avenue, number 302. I am the treasurer and secretary for the Mason 115 Mason Avenue Condominium Association, and here before you tonight in that capacity to request approval to coat the west wall of the building with porge, or cement-like material referred to as porge. We bought our condominium a little over 2 years ago, and since being involved, was trusted the duty pretty much as the building manager, maintenance man, janitor, whatever you want to call it. And we have spent several $1,000s on the building, doing roof repairs, deferred maintenance, some other, what we consider improvements such as painting the walls inside. But we have not attacked the west wall because we've not been able to find contractors who really seem to be interested. Our first intent was to saw cut out all mortar joints and have them all pointed up. Like I say, I have not been able to find anybody to do that. The problem we have is that we have very deteriorated mortar joints. We have some missing bricks, we have some displaced bricks. We have some places that have been patched sort of haphazardly. And we have water that is coming into the building, causing damage to the interior walls and some ceilings, both in the common area and into our unit in particular. Excuse me. So recently somebody was recommended to me, and he suggested that we consider parging the wall as opposed to trying to point it all up. The price that I have received, prices that I've received from the only people who look at them are generally open-ended. It'll be a time and material thing. One man said $30 per square foot. The building's about 100 feet deep. It's 30 feet tall. That would be an astronomical amount of money if it were truly $30 per square foot type of thing we had to do. The wall is barely visible. The alleyway is not a whole lot wider than this podium right here. And so we would like to request that the board approve our using porge material. We have not chosen a color. We are open to your recommendation, your requirement, whichever it is that you would like to do for us to put on that. Our intent is only to stop the water infiltration, but also to give it a more uniform and better look as well. You'll notice that wall is barely visible because of the blue heron from the front and even from the rear. That building is mostly exterior. So that's my pitch.
So, I'm curious, how many owners?
There are 5. The building has, generally known as the Beltonic
Yes.
building now. They own the ground floor condominium.
Okay.
There are 2 condominiums on each floor, two on the front and then 2 on the rear.
Okay.
And a center stairwell with an elevator in it.
Okay. And as such, then there's a condominium association that you represent, correct? Okay. Mr. Gay, you have a lot of experience in the masonry world. No, I'm asking, I mean, I've stuck my head between these 2 buildings and I've looked at these bricks and they look like the bricks that we have underneath our house, which are sketchy.
Yes.
And salt.
Uh-huh.
And they've lost, and I'm not, this is just an observation, they've lost that exterior glaze which keeps them.
I think parging would give you an opportunity to protect that wall, but also, have you talked with Gordon Campbell?
No, I have not.
You know, he's had that same problem with the Wilson building.
Right.
And they've applied some kind of like an epoxy chemical, a clear chemical.
Mm-hmm.
And it had to do it a couple of times, but I think that it stopped the water infiltration.
Yeah, the biggest problem we have is the missing bricks. When the interior stairwell was constructed, there were windows that were blocked up, that were not bricked up. So there are essentially open windows, and then you see the concrete block that's inside that. There are a number of bricks that are missing from the side of the building and some longer display. So we need either a mason who can find who
Well, you're going to have to get
do all that repair work and then put on that coating. And I think I'm aware of that material that you're speaking of. The contractor that we have spoken with has indicated that he would put a clear coat over the
Right, you spray it on, and it soaks in, and then
So that goes over a parging.
No, this is under.
Under the parging.
Under the parging.
Okay.
But what the issue though is that you know the bricks are so in so bad shape.
Right.
We really do need to cover them up.
Oh, no, I agree. Yeah, you still want to do that.
Oh, okay.
This might give you some extra protection.
I meant that as an alternative.
Yeah.
No, I think I think, so that would go on first.
Right.
And then you parge on top of that, and the parge adheres to that material?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's news to me.
And you have included a picture of where that elevator shaft took out a window between you and Blue Heron. That somewhat astounded they left it that way, but anyway, that's what it is.
Yeah. The neighbor on the second floor in the front says he has birds living in the wall somewhere, so there are all sorts of things that we've got to attack.
I appreciate the photographs from, I guess, the second floor, looking down, or the third floor.
The third, there's a roof deck.
Yeah.
Actually, there are 2 roof decks up there.
Yes.
One that we have repaired, the other is in bad shape, so we padlocked that door.
The photographs looking at the.
Looking down.
Yeah, standing on the ground between the buildings, looking up, you can see some displacement of bricks, but not to the extent that you're photographing.
Was there a previous building up against it so that was protected? Or was it always
Not that I know of.
It was always exposed?
I think it's always been exposed, and that's one of the problems is that the damage is primarily confined to the third floor because Blue Heron is only 2 stories.
Right.
But the sun, the wind, the rain, everything comes in and beats against that building. The second floor units don't seem to have too much of a problem with that, so the birds living in the walls.
Right.
But they have, but we on the third floor seem to get full on that.
What's the status of the east side of the building? Because that's also open between this building and
The Burris building, right. It is not as in bad shape.
Okay. I haven't looked at that quite yet.
Wood here. So far, we've not had too many problems. We did have some issues with water on above the windows. And the previous owner, I believe, had that area caulked. I think it is a temporary issue, and you may see me again in a few years, coming back and asking me the same thing on that side. But right now, we do not seem to have a problem. We've had some roof issues, it's a flat roof, it's actually slope roof, but it's a membrane roof. And there were a lot of deferred maintenance issues when I got involved.
And you want to check your flashing too, when if it's a flat roof and where it goes over the brick coating. Yeah, because you'll be getting water infiltration there.
Because both in the rain that we had just a few nights ago, and then the one we had, I think, 2 nights after this past meeting, that it had to be postponed. We have water coming into the building and into our unit. That one nobody cannot do it. 2 nights ago.
So with regards to, and I appreciate the information about the barging material.
And I have the original of that along with it.
No,
Better colors.
We haven't waded into the issue of choosing colors, paint colors, barging colors, but I would suggest, and this is just a suggestion, that you would use something that would match the brick so this doesn't jump out.
It's closely covered.
Yeah, the rear of the adjacent building, the Burris building, is only gold, and it does go down.
Yeah, so that's what, because this, while you only really see that 3rd floor, that elevation, that level, once this material's up there, this is it.
Yeah.
So you need to be, and I'm sure you are, thoughtful about that.
Right. This is foam now, so yes, we want to
This one is. Dave, you lived in?
No, that's a good product too. I know that was a competitor.
Okay. Well, do you have any other comments about the, so I just noticed, well, obviously, there's so much, a lot of home foundations.
Right. Well, and depending, I don't know how old that building is.
We believe it was built in 1915.
Okay.
What'd you find?
I didn't find anything.
Somewhere we heard.
But some of the real
I'd like to know where you found it.
some of the real early buildings for the mortar, they use beach sand.
Yeah.
Which is horrible because it's too fine.
Right.
It's listed as a 1920s brick commercial building.
Yeah.
Close enough.
I have a couple questions. I have a little experience with this because I worked for Wyndham and I did a hotel in San Francisco for them. And they had the same problem, the bay facing elevation. The bricks appeared that the bricks were the problem, when in fact we got a consultant and it's the pointing that was the problem. So I was wondering if you had any success getting somebody to come out and talk to you about repointing.
Well, that was the point. I've spent a year, pretty much a year, trying to find contractors to do this.
So I know at the Barrier Island Center, they have some preservation going on some brickwork there.
The issues that I have found are several. One is that the narrow alleyway makes access to that very, very difficult. So for somebody to put in a scaffold or put in a man lift or do it from a ladder, it's going to be very difficult.
What are they going to do to parking?
Well, that doesn't eliminate it, but that has eliminated a lot of the contractors that I've talked to, because they come in and they kind of go and walk in. Oh, sure, yeah, I'm interested, and they walk in and they literally come to me and something like this, and they walk, well, thanks very much, but that's not going to get back to you or something. And so that was the first sort of test that eliminated the. I found 2 or 3 people who were very interested in doing it, but found that they weren't insured or licensed. I'm not sure they were even legal. in the United States, but that's another story. Then I did find somebody who said, yeah, I'll be interested in doing it, but I say only $30 a square foot.
That's just one estimate that you got.
That was one. I did have a contractor from Norfolk, Sprinkle Masonry, and their price was about twice as much money as the gentleman who suggested that we parse the building.
I read the savingplaces.org
I'm sorry?
newsletter every week. Do you ever read like the historical newsletter for Virginia, savingplaces.org? Oftentimes they feature historic brick buildings.
Well, I've called two or three people in Norfolk who have done historic work. And I can come out to a couple people, I can't help there anybody there, but nonetheless, they were interested in coming out here. It's too far for them to come to do the work. I mean, it's just been.
And what's the cost of the parging?
The cost of the parging can be about $25,000. And you know, for 4 families or 4 residential owners and the Gulf Hummock, 3 of the residential are simply vacation owners. We're the only current residents there.
So who's going to do the parging?
This gentleman was suggested to me by a local fellow named Angel Murrah. And I talked to Jeb, who seems to have said that, yeah, he's a capable, well-known man around this area. And he calls me about once a week, wanting to know when he constructed.
That's good.
So that's actually a check on the right side of the ledger as far as I'm concerned. Well, these other people just never call me back.
Have you met him?
Oh, yes. Yeah. We've been on the roof.
It's a little short guy, right?
Yeah, we've been and walked the whole thing.
Angel's done a lot of
Yeah, Angel does a lot of work in town.
I guess my concern is consistency when we make decisions about changes to relevant contributing elements of buildings. Like we just, on the other case, we just talked about the front facade. And I understand that's a big difference. But still, these kinds of bricks, these historic bricks, these are handmade bricks. They're designed to live and breathe in the structure for a very long time, and that's the purpose of it. Parging takes that away. Takes away the appearance, and it takes away from the contributing element, the history of the town, the people who made those bricks. So I'm just wondering if it's not a rush to go to parging as the answer, if there isn't a broader.
If this had been a year ago, I would say sure, we look some more. But I have looked and looked.
I understand, it's really frustrating, I get that.
Plus the ability and the interest of the owners putting in that much more money into the building. They said, we put a lot of money into it already just to try to get it back to normal.
And I agree we have to weigh the cost of something, if we can't have preservation at any cost. But again, for being consistent in our decision-making on contributing elements of buildings in our historic district, it seems inconsistent to jump to granting the proposal now to do parging without having more information, cost information, options. And I know it's challenging, a year is a long time, but we don't have
Well,
that.
when the water was dripping on me in my bedroom.
Just to say it would be
the other night, I
more
wanted to have
expensive,
somebody
doesn't give us
say
any
this stuff's
facts to
done.
work from.
And I'll also say that all is just not visible.
Right, it isn't visible.
I
It
see
is
the
not
picture.
part of the contributing structure visibility.
This is the picture on the street.
Yeah. So. I
Yeah, you can see it. I mean, yes.
I mean, really, it's, what makes the building stand out in 3 dimensions, so that you can see the side on the upper floor.
I've had the same thoughts because I like that look, the old brick look, but by the same token, I can also, having tried to enlist contractors to work for me or hearing other homeowners in town, a much smaller project, finding somebody local who's capable of doing this work it's going to be extremely difficult, and I'm sympathetic to that. I'm also sympathetic to the fact that you are working in an extremely tight space. From what I saw, as I said earlier, when I walked between these two buildings, and I like that brick look, no doubt, but these bricks, they lose their water resistance because that baked on as they come out of the oven, that thin glaze on these bricks, they just don't last. The bricks themselves are soft. I've got a house sitting on bricks just like this. And I look at them and scratch my head sometimes. But that's why I suggested that if this is approved, that a color be chosen that would replicate, and not that we, Sunday morning, I'm sure I'm going to hear that we're the paint police.
Yeah.
But to the extent that, a color that would match the bricks to the greatest extent possible be used would go a long way in my mind, and making this a nice looking project, but also more amenable to the board.
Well, there's another alternative too, which is a porcelain-based paint.
Yes.
And the problem is I don't think it comes in clear. They use it on lighthouses. They take really a lot of sea beating and wind and sand and everything, and they can last quite a long time before having to be recoated, like 50 years. That's something else you could look into. The problem that I see here, Joe, is that our applicant has a problem, and they got to solve it.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't want to have this problem myself.
Oh no.
And I know that we can be historical purists on this, but this is up on the 3rd floor, maybe. It's not something that people walking down the street and get a sense of Cape Charles really see. I don't see a problem with parging. I mean, it's something.
There are penetrating clear sealers for brick.
That's true.
When I did the hotel in San Francisco, after we had it repointed, they were like, how do we keep this from happening again? And it was sealed with a clear penetrating.
And that's another possibility.
But
I'm just saying that you may want to look at all those.
The applicant's contention also is the fact that finding someone qualified to do the pointing is, as he mentioned, he's spent a year. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I've totally seen you guys, but we're not being consistent in our rulings.
But we're
Contributing elevations.
I think this interferes with people's lives. Their property is being destroyed. And taking the time to do this historically correct is going to contribute to their inconvenience.
We don't know that yet. There haven't been estimates. There haven't been.
He's been trying for a long time to get somebody to help him with this. And we have suggestions. And he can follow the suggestions.
I mean, at the current time, you're proposing that you parge it. That's it. And are you open to looking at other options?
If I can find the people who can offer me those options.
Okay.
There are several issues. One that primarily is the fact that we still suffer damage to the inside of the building. It continues to happen when we have driving rainstorms. And it is creating more damage to the interior of the building, which eventually will mean we'll have to spend more money to fix that.
Well, before you do anything, you're gonna have to repair some of these holes. You know,
Exactly.
you've got gaping holes where you can see cinder block. Yeah, that's gotta be fixed.
And that's part of, and, you know, if I need to hire Angel to go fill those and push the bricks back in, the problem is that then escalates the cost, because we then have to do a piecemeal station, set it up, do the work, and tear it all back down, and then, oh, by the way, come back next week or next month, next year, and redo all this, because we then have to put something on the wall. And I think the issue more than the bricks is the mortar joints. And I mean, the bricks are going to be falling out, the mortar joints will be okay. The problem is finding somebody who can do that work, and at a cost that we can afford. So it's, you know,
But is Angel gonna do that? Is he gonna point the bricks for
no,
it?
he's not going to point the bricks. I think he's going to repair those that are loose.
Because I think at a minimum, you've gotta do that, because you can't put porridge against something that's not stable.
Exactly. So I think he's going to have to do that, and then he will porridge over top of that. But the whole idea, from my understanding, and I'm a layman, so I can't speak with authority here, is that the porridge will then essentially go into some of those mortar joints and help secure the bricks, as well as create a watertight seal.
Well, it's gonna have to, because the porridge acts, it's like putting plaster over
Right.
wooden laths.
Exactly.
So that's where you get the, you know, I'm
Right.
just stating this, that the porridge is gonna have to be, just by nature of doing that work, you're pushing that.
Pushing it in.
It's like grouting a tile,
Right.
right? It's going in, it's filling the void between the bricks. And that's what's gonna, those keys is what holds the porridge into place, so the whole thing doesn't like
Right.
slough off.
Right, right.
Earlier, when we started the meeting, when Larry was reading to us the letter, and I know from attending the town council meeting last week, there's this effort for us to use a two-step process in application. I'm wondering if that might not be a wise course to take.
We are, well, if the town council deems that applicable, then yeah. But right now, we have an application. We have an applicant who's provided an application based on rules as they exist today. I'm not,
Based on the rules, we would have to say no. I'm saying, could we give it time to try and help the applicant with these extenuating circumstances? And one more, if it's been 12 months, what's 13 months?
you're assuming then that the town council would, within 30 days, is going to act and change the application process to make it a two-step.
Not
Less,
necessarily. I'm asking if we as a board want to make a recommendation. I mean, I'm willing to help them.
I
have experience.
That's admirable. But we have an application on the table. I don't.
To change the contributing facade, and we just had an application on the table to change the contributing facade.
This isn't the
This is not
facade.
the
This
facade.
is not a facade.
It's a side elevation.
It's a
The
side
side
elevation, not the
elevation,
front.
And it's viewable
Not the
from the
front.
street.
The facade would be
From-
front
If
facing.
we're
40
sticking-
feet up.
If we have to stick to the guidelines to the letter, we would not be able to approve it.
You know,
All I'm saying is,
if
can
we
we
had to stick to the
give
guidelines
it a
to the
little-
letter, and they're only guidelines, there'd be very little work that got done in this town, and that's just the way it is. Having been in this, having done restoration for livelihood for 25 years, if you stick, we could go by these guidelines point by point, letter by letter. And there'd be very little work that would get done in this town because most people come before this board. They're looking to rehabilitate a property versus, in my view, restore the property. I did restoration. I would spend, and my crew, it wasn't unusual for us to spend a couple of years restoring a house to its original design. I work with architectural historians. I mean, this is not that.
Well,
This-
that is your opinion.
No, my opinion
No,
is,
not your opinion, his opinion. Would it be all right to spend another month researching some of these other ways to get it done?
I don't think that's a fair question.
It's not a fair question.
I think we have an
Well,
application.
we have not
Flushed out something that preserves the architectural integrity of the grant.
I tend to defer to the property owner and representative of this condominium association. He said he's spent time, a year, or whatever it was has been, contacting various companies, having people come out and look, and nobody wants to.
There are permanent clear coats. They can do what George does.
After it's pointed. But the problem has been, according to the applicant, getting someone out here
Who could point?
to give him a reasonable price, or any price, short of $30 a square foot, to point up this building.
It's a commercial building in our historic downtown overlay. I'd like to give it a go.
I would not support that. I just don't think that's, I'm not gonna, no, I wouldn't support that. I don't know how the rest of the board feels. I just wouldn't support that. We have an application. We can approve it, with an amendment, or amend it, or we deny it, which then sends the applicant back to either the town council or whatever we choose.
I do have a question for you. At this point, it's just one wall that you're talking about. You're not talking about doing the other side.
No. This is the west wall. I mean, that wood is the only place that you have a real line.
Okay.
We have a couple of roof issues, I think we've solved most of those. And we would not be touching the front of the building. The building to both sides have one that's stucco, one has blue paint.
Right.
The ones that are, each side has parking on the rear of it, and parking on buildings adjacent to that, the Kelly building and so forth. And so I think it's in keeping with the materials that are used in the same area, and in keeping with materials that are used throughout the town, that would not make this stand out as being a huge exception to the rule. And it solves a problem for us, both within our economic reaches and within the time frame that allows us to go on with our lives and try to get stuff done. We won't do it.
You know, there's foundations underneath some of the historic homes in town that are sitting on parks foundations. You know, we have a building that's the applicant states next door, Blue Heron Realty, which is blue, painted brick. You know, the facade of that building is blue painted brick, right? Again, if there's any further questions, please let's put them out, but if there's not,
I make a recommendation that we approve the certification of appropriateness for 115 Mason Avenue.
I second it.
okay, so we have a motion and a second on the table to approve the application for 115 Mason. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Thank you very much.
All right, good luck with the
luck.
project.
Good luck, Bill.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. Here we are. Okay. Other business. I have a couple of things. I'll try to make this brief. So, Zach, year and a half, 2 years ago now, we had an updated inventory of all the historic structures in town. Right, it was done as part of the National Register. I was wondering what's the status of that?
Well, Larry, I think Larry has that.
We have it and they gave us some CDs.
Is it been, I mean, is it final? Is it, we have to finish?
As far as we know, it's just a lot. So we would have to, because it includes pictures and everything. So I don't know if it's matched up yet or not, but I know that we have it. I'm thinking that we're supposed to do that and staff just has not.
Is it electronic, or do you have to physically put it together?
Well, we have, gosh, it's 6 discs, I believe.
Okay, so
Or
it's
7.
It's electronic.
It's
Okay, so at the February meeting, I'd like an update on that, and if that is complete, I'd like the board to receive either that information, either on a thumb drive or this, so we can have that to replace. This is what we have.
What's your
So
original?
I'm looking for that update.
Mr. Chairman, I will tell you right now, it will not get done by February because I will be the one doing it. I apologize. The clerk has to be out, so therefore I will be manning town council.
Okay.
Also, so I apologize, I don't want to say I have the time, I cannot have the time.
Okay, how about by the March meeting?
I will do my best.
Do your best, okay. I think that's going to be really helpful. All right, the other question I have, I'm sorry, Zach, I'm aiming all these at you. You have for all shutters. The shutter replacement on Tazewell Avenue, Mrs. White's property, it's on the 500 block of Tazewell. I'm wondering what the status of that. If you don't have an answer tonight, I would like an answer by the end of the month, please.
We can give you an answer by the end of the month.
What
We
the status
received a
is?
letter. We received a letter from her a couple days ago, so I'll look into that and follow up with you at the February meeting.
Okay, that would be, this has been a
Long
long
time.
time.
That's
5 years,
fine.
40
We got
years.
a brief overview and, yeah.
Okay, that would be helpful. And then last on my list of other business is, I believe, the address is 123 Peach Street, where a chimney was removed without approval. It was a chimney on the front of the house. All 4 homes on that side. There's 4 homes on that side of the street that are all identical, built around the same time, built by the same builder. And now one of them is missing their chimney, which, if it was a rear chimney, may not be that big a deal, but since it was a chimney on the front of the house, extremely visible from the street, and it was done without a permit. And I mentioned this back in September when that happened, and I'd like some information by the February meeting as to where that stands. Why haven't we seen the property owner come in and plead their case? Why they did that without approval, I'd just like to know.
Yes, sir, I can get that for you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's wonderful, thank you, Zach. That's what I have for other business. Is there any other business?
I just wondered, if we were gonna get together for any kind of a work session to talk about what's been proposed by town council?
That's up to the,
See, I didn't hear what the question was.
I wondered, I don't know what you do in these situations, I wondered, is there any sort of a work session planned to discuss what the town council is proposing, which is to overhaul the preservation plan? There was a very lengthy and detailed recommendation made, and
at the
it's-
last town council.
This
That's
was
all
at
that's
the
town
work session on, correct me if I'm wrong,
It was
Zach?
in-
That was the most recent one. It was,
January 3rd,
or
6th. They have
Yeah,
work
it was the
sessions a lot, so.
And
And if
Larry
you
already drafted a very long brief with recommendations that's specific.
It was based on the historic district. If you all would like, the agenda is of course posted online.
I read that, I read the report, I mean, that's up to the board. I don't know what there is to discuss right now.
Well, they were gonna have, they proposed doing a joint work session
Right,
with planning and historic to come to mutual understanding and.
well, that's where we would hold that discussion then,
Yeah.
at a joint, we've had joint meetings, work sessions with planning commission in the past that have been moderately successful.
So the board would be open to joint.
I would like,
Well,
I don't
this
have
is
a copy
something
of
we've
what
talked
they
about
said,
for a
so
while.
what are
And,
they?
It's
I
a
think
lot.
it's a
You-
good
you
idea
want
that we have a
someone
joint
that-
meeting with them,
you
because
want-
one of the things we need to do is make sure that our guidelines are aligned with the planning commission,
And that's,
and vice versa.
that's been
you
a
know.
problem
Right.
that,
Seems like an opportunity to try and get some more.
oh, well, absolutely, if there's a joint work session called between this board and the planning commission, this board and the town council, however, I don't think this board needs to meet independent of that. I think that's the time where we then, you know, that's where we give feedback and those kind of comments. I just don't, that's just my opinion, I don't
Yeah,
necessarily.
Also, Mr. Chairman, since she brought up, since she did bring up that, the town manager has asked Zach and I to poll this board, and he actually suggested that historic have a work session to tell the town council when you go into work session with town council, what it is the board needs to get the job done that I. and it
You
was
mean
one
what
of-
recommendations we have?
Yes, to, what would better
what
help
support?
you serve this board?
So what support the town council could provide this board,
Or the town itself?
could provide
He was
this
just
board?
saying what would help
Okay,
the board,
yeah.
yeah.
okay, well then, do a work session, does that need to be advertised? Okay, so we're talking 30 days at a minimum,
Yeah.
60 days realistically.
I forgot the date he gave us, do you remember? So I apologize.
Could you contact us about that?
Sure.
And obviously loop in Zach, and loop in the town manager Larry,
Will do.
and then we can, and suggest then some dates that are equitable for you and Zach as staff, and I'm assuming Larry would sit in, I don't know, but I'll leave that up to you. Thanks. I'm completely unaware of that conversation, so, thank you.
He just, he has just started trying to get some board input on
Okay.
how everything is run. Mainly this board, he does understand the guidelines, how they don't always match up.
Correct.
So,
Okay, no, that's fine, you can follow up with that, that would be great. Any other business?
But I don't think we as a board need to meet.
No.
prior.
No.
No.
When's the February meeting?
That's what I think I heard you say, Teresa.
That is what,
The recommendation
Larry had, that
of
was
the
the
town
town
manager
manager
was that we need
recommendation,
as
which
a
you
board
all have to do that.
He had to
Right,
do
but
it.
No,
it would
no,
be-
no, just a
It would
recommendation.
be to discuss what we need, what the town council and the town as a whole could provide this board.
I'm getting the date for you, Rick.
Okay.
I believe, I want to say the 15th,
The 19th.
the 19th.
And that got good.
Okay. So, Zach, do you have any other business that we need? All right, so we're done with other business. You want to move into announcements? Any announcements? I have an announcement. As of February, following the February meeting, I will no longer serve as chairman or on this board. I'm going to step off. It's been a great pleasure and an honor to serve the town, to work with you folks. You guys have been more than wonderful, but it's just time. I'm ready to go. It's time, maybe perhaps there'll be a town council person sitting on this board, which may be long overdue. So, anyway, I'll be here for the February meeting, and then after that, I may harangue you from the audience. That's my announcement. Give you a promise. Any other announcements? Tracy? Anything? Zach? Okay. There being no other announcements, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.